Welcome to the play The Mousetrap, directed by Anmol sir. Let me introduce you to the cast. This is Radhika ma'am. She's playing the role of Casewell.
हिंदी इंग्लिश सब बकचोदी घर ऐसा कुछ
फॉर्मल कर सकते हैं, वही बात है, इतना फॉर्मल कराने की जरूरत नहीं है। लियो भैया इधर लियो, मैं आगे क्या कर दूं?
ये
तो इनपुट डालते रहिए अपने, कोई नहीं
वो इनपुट तो आ ही रहे
ये ड्रामेटिक्स थर्ड ईयर से हैं और ये केसवेल का रोल कर रही हैं। केसवेल के रोल में ये एक गर्ल हैं जो बहुत ही मिस्टीरियस है, इनके बैकग्राउंड के बारे में कोई पता नहीं एंड एक डायलॉग है कि इफ शी इज अ फीमेल, तो एक कंफ्यूजन इनके बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा मिस्ट्री है। लेट्स गो टू मॉली। ये हमारे ड्रामेटिक्स फोर्थ ईयर हैं, रिया मैम। ये एक मिस्ट्रेस है जो इन्होंने अपना गेस्ट हाउस स्टार्ट किया है, जिस गेस्ट हाउस में पूरा प्ले बेस्ड है।
बिल्कुल सही कह रही है लड़की।
और मैम बहुत ही सोफिस्टिकेटेड है, अपने हाउस को बहुत ही क्लीन रखती है। और ये इन दी एंड इनके हस्बैंड के साथ झगड़ा भी हो जाता है, ये अपने हस्बैंड पे शक भी करती है कि कहीं वो मर्डरर तो नहीं है।
एग्जैक्टली।
ओके, लेट्स गो टू अक्षय सर।
अक्षय सर
ये हमारे ड्रामेटिक्स फोर्थ ईयर है, ये ट्रॉटर का रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं। ये एक सार्जेंट है जो मर्डर को इन्वेस्टिगेट करने के लिए आए हैं और ये बहुत ही मतलब मिस्टीरियस है, नहीं पता कि इनके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है, ये लोगों को मैनिपुलेट कर रहे हैं। सो एट द एंड ऑफ द प्ले बहुत सारी मिस्ट्रीज डिस्क्लोज होती है इनके बारे में, सो डू वॉच।
इनका पेन भी हो जाता है एक बार और इनको इरेजर की बहुत जरूरत होती है।
ओके, ये हमारे मेजर मेटकाफ है, ही इज फ्रॉम फर्स्ट ईयर एंड स्मोकिंग किल्स। ठीक है, इनका रोल बहुत ही सिंपल सा है, ये आते हैं, हमने डायलॉग डिलीवर करते हैं, लोगों को कंफ्यूज करते हैं और चले जाते हैं। और इनको हाउस के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के बारे में बहुत ही इंटरेस्ट है, हमेशा सेलर में चले जाते हैं, वाइन्स ढूंढते रहते हैं और बस और कुछ भी नहीं करते।
बिल्कुल सही एग्जैक्टली
यही करता हूँ।
ओके,
यस।
लेट्स गो टू पैराविचनी,
कौन पैराविचनी?
द मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग कैरेक्टर ऑफ द प्ले।
सूट मांगा हुआ है।
ये इनकी एज पता नहीं है, ये अपने एज से बहुत ही यंग बिहेव करते हैं। आई गेस ही इज अ कैसनोवा।
जीनियस
एज से यंग बिहेव नहीं करते हैं, अपनी एज से ओल्ड बिहेव करते हैं।
हाँ ओल्ड।
कैसी लोग हैं, स्क्रिप्ट नहीं बढ़िया लगता तुमने? दोबारा इट्स ओके।
पैराविचनी डायलॉग
मेकअप भी लगाते हैं ये।
हाँ, और ये मेकअप भी लगाता है और लाइक लोगों को शक होता है कि पता नहीं इसकी एज क्या है और
इसकी
माय रोल्स रॉयस इज ओवरटर्न इन अ स्नो ड्रिफ्ट।
ये ठरकी भी है बहुत ज़्यादा और ये मॉली पे लाइन मारता है,
सब पे
सब पे, मॉली पे।
पैराविचनी ने अपना कोई
बहुत चढ़ा लो।
इतनी कॉन्शियस, ओ माय गॉड।
आई कम ऑन टिप्टो वाला डायलॉग।
Who am I? You do not know. Where do I come from? You do not know. Me? I am the man of mystery.
नाउ लेट्स गो टू मिसेस बॉयल। ये हमारे प्ले की मोस्ट हेटेड कैरेक्टर है
और आज पार्लर भी गई है।
और आज पार्लर भी गई है और ये हर चीज़ से चिढ़ती है, चाहे जो मॉली वो कुछ भी कर ले, लिटरली कुछ भी कर ले, वो हर चीज़ से परेशान होगी, हर चीज़ के बारे में कंप्लेन करे, कुछ पसंद नहीं आता है।
मैजिस्ट्रेट थी किसी टाइम पे।
हाँ,
मैजिस्ट्रेट
और ये मैजिस्ट्रेट थी और इनकी वजह से प्ले में बहुत बेकार चीज़ें होती हैं।
अपने बाल वाइट किए जाने।
हाँ मैम, एक डायलॉग प्लीज।
I have come to the time of life when the amenities of an establishment are more important than its appearance.
Okay, let's go to Varit sir.
लेट्स गो।
He's third year and he's playing the role of Giles. ये मॉली के हस्बैंड हैं जिनका गेस्ट हाउस है और ये भी मॉली पे शक करते हैं जब मॉली इन पे शक करती है और ये बहुत ही पॉजेसिव है अपनी वाइफ को लेके और उनसे झगड़ा भी कर लेते हैं क्योंकि वो दूसरे लोगों के साथ थोड़ा सा अच्छे से बात कर रही होती है। और कोई बचा?
The best non-cast ever.
The best non-cast ever is me, अनुष्का चंद्रावत। मैंने बहुत सारा काम किया है।
अनुष्का चंद्रावत, the best non-cast ever is Soul, the one and only. Sathik Raj the great. So, come on, let's move it to some another level. Come ma'am, आइए इधर। There is Tanvi ma'am, जो भाग रही है, छुप रही है।
वो XD है हमारी एक्स डायरेक्टर।
हाँ। और ये वीना रानी मीना इधर आइए, come on.
ओ सॉरी रवि सर, आप उठ के चले गए। रवि सर है, ये क्रिस्टोफर का रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं और आई गेस ये गे हैं।
Really very beautiful. क्या वो लाइन सब भूल जाओगे क्या?
We are pro LGBT. We are
हाँ pro LGBT. We support LGBT.
सीरियसली लोग लड़के देख के बहुत एक्साइटेड हैं।
सर एक डायलॉग.
पुलिसमैन अट्रैक्टिव। अरे जल्दी जल्दी बच्चों
Are you Mrs. Dodson? How delightful. My name's Ren.
Thank you.
जल्दी करो जल्दी करो।
Okay, let me introduce you to our director. To non-cast director.
Hi. बहुत busy हूँ मैं.
और our director अनमोल sir.
अरे रिया मैम हो गई?
Anmol sir.
No camera, no camera.
Hello.
He's our director Anmol sir. Sir.
I'm fourth year GPT student. So I'm directing the play. Play, as you all know, is a thriller mystery, and we have tried our best to. We tried our best that people keep guessing till the end that who's the killer and who's being murdered next, who's going to be murdered. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, thank you sir. और
हो गया मेरा।
ओके सर और नॉन कास्ट लेट मी इंट्रोड्यूस नॉन कास्ट
बस समझ गए।
नॉन कास्ट
द होल सेक्शन इज नॉन कास्ट। चलो सारी नॉन कास्ट के मिल
Hi, hello. शायद से कैमरा नहीं आया।
हो गया।
Mrs. Barlow. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark overcoat, light sock, and soft hair hat. Motorists are warned against icebound roads. Heavy snow is expected to continue, and throughout the country there will be certain freezing, particularly at points on the north and northeast coast of Scotland.
It's cold. It really does look nice. Oh, how stupid of Giles. Gosh.
Molly, where are you?
Doing all the work, you brute.
Oh, there you are. Leave it all to me. Shall I soak the aga?
It's done.
Hello, sweetheart. Your hands are cold.
I've just come in.
Where have you been? Surely you have not been out in this weather.
I had to go down to the village for some stuff I'd forgotten. Did you get the chicken netting?
It wasn't the right kind. I went down to another dump, but it wasn't any good either. Practically a whole day wasted. My God, I'm half frozen. Car was skidding like anything. The snow's falling down thick. What do you bet we're not showed up tomorrow?
Oh dear. I do hope not. If only the pipes don't freeze.
We'll have to keep the central heating well soaked up. Not too good. I wish they would send the coke along. We have not got any too much.
I so want everything to go well at first. First impressions are so important.
Is everything ready? Nobody's arrived yet, I suppose.
No, thank goodness. I think everything's in order. Oh, Giles, do you think it's going to be all right?
Got cold feet, have you? Are you sorry now we didn't sell the place when your aunt left it to you? Instead of having this mad idea of running it as a guest house.
No, I'm not. I love it. And talking of a guest house, just look at that.
Pretty good. What?
It's a disaster. Don't you see? You have left out the S. Monkwell instead of Monkswell.
Good Lord, so I did. How did I come to do that? But it doesn't really matter, does it? Monkwell is as good a name.
You are in disgrace. Go and stoke up the central heating.
Across that icy yard. Can I bank it up for the night now?
No, you don't do that until 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, appalling.
Hurry up. Someone may arrive any minute now.
You have got all the rooms worked out.
Yes. Mrs. Boyle front four-poster room. Major Metcalf blue room. Miss Caswell East room and Mr. Renault room.
I wonder what all these people will be like. Oughtn't we to have got rent in advance?
Oh no, I don't think so.
We are rather mugs at this game.
They bring luggage. If they don't pay, we hang on to their luggage. It's quite simple.
I can't help thinking. We ought to have taken a correspondence course in hotel keeping. We are sure to get had in some way. Their luggage might be just sprig wrapped up in newspaper. And where should we be then?
They all wrote from very good addresses.
That's what servants with forged references do. Some of these people may be criminals hiding from the police.
I don't care what they are. So long as they pay us 7 guineas every week.
You're such a wonderful woman of business, Molly.
According to Scotland Yard, the crime took place at 24 College Street, Paddington. The murder room was Mrs. Maureen Ryan. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark overcoat, light sock, and a soft felt hat. Motorists are warned against ice-bound roads, where snow is expected to continue, and throughout the country, there
How do you do?
Thanks so much. Weather is simply awful. My taxi gave up at a gate. Wouldn't attempt the drive. No sporting instinct, I tell you. Hi, Mrs. Watson. How delightful. My name's Ren.
How do you do, Mr. Wren?
You know, you're not at all as I pictured you. I have been thinking of you as retired general's widow. Indian Army. I thought you'd be terrifically grim and Mem-Sahibish. And that the whole place would be simply crammed with Benares brass. Instead, it's heavenly. Lovely proportions. That's a fake. But this table is genuine. I am simply going to love it here. Have you got any wax flowers of birds of paradise?
I'm afraid not.
What a pity. Well, what about the sideboard? A purple, plummy mahogany sideboard with great solid dark fruits on it.
Yes, we have. In the dining room.
In here. I must see it.
You come and warm yourself.
Absolutely perfect. Real bit of respectability. But why do I with the center mahogany table? Little tables just spoil the effect.
We thought guests would prefer them. This is my husband.
Oh, how do you do? Terrible weather, isn't it? Takes one back to Dickens and Scrooge. And that irritating Tiny Tim. So bogus. Of course, Mrs. Alston. You're absolutely right about the little tables. I was being carried away by my feeling for period. If you had a mahogany dining table, you'd have to have the right family around it. Stern, handsome father with a beard. Prolific, faded mother. 11 children of assorted ages. A grim governess. And somebody called Poor Harriet. The poor relation who acts as General Dog's body. And is very, very grateful for being given a good home.
I'll take your suitcase upstairs for you. Coke room, did you say?
Yes.
I do hope that's got a Coke poster. With little Shin's roses.
It hasn't.
I don't think your husband is going to like me. How long have you been married? Are you very much in love?
We have been married just a year. Perhaps you'd like to come up to your room.
Ticked off. But I do so like knowing all about people. I mean, I really think people are so madly interesting, don't you?
Well, I suppose some are and some are not.
No, I don't agree. I think they're all interesting. Because you never really know what anyone is like. Or what they're actually thinking. For instance, you don't know what I'm thinking about now, do you?
Not in the least. Cigarette?
No, thank you. You see, the only people who really know what other people are like are artists. And they don't know why they know it. Of course, if they're portrait painters, it comes out on the canvas.
Are you a painter?
No, I'm an architect. My parents, baptized me Christopher. In the hope that I'd be an architect. Christopher Wren. As good as halfway home. Of course, everyone laughs about it and makes jokes about St. Paul's. However, who knows? I may yet have the last laugh. Christopher Wren's prefab nest may yet go down in history. I'm going to like it here. I find your wife most sympathetic.
Indeed.
And really, very beautiful.
Oh, don't be absurd.
There. Isn't that like an English woman? Compliments always embarrass them. European women take compliments as a matter of course. But English women have all their feminine spirit crushed out of them by their husbands. There's some something very boorish about English husbands.
Come up and see your room.
Shall I?
Could you stoke up the hot water boiler? This is Monkswell Manor, I presume.
Yes,
I am Mrs. Boyle.
I'm Giles Ralston. Come into the fire, Mrs. Boyle, and get warm. Awful weather, isn't it? Is this your only luggage?
A Major Metcalf is seeing to it.
I'll leave the door for you.
The taxi wouldn't risk coming up the drive. It stopped at the gate. We had to share a taxi from the station, and there was great difficulty in getting that. Nothing ordered to meet us, it seems.
I'm so sorry. We didn't know what train you would be coming by, you see. Otherwise, of course, you would have seen that someone was standing by.
All trains should have been met.
Let me take your coat. My wife will be there in a moment. I'll just go along and give Metcalf a hand with the bags.
The drive varieties have been clear of the snow. Most often and casual. I must say. I'm so sorry, I'm Ralston. Yes, I am. You're very young. Young? To be running an establishment of this kind. You can't have had much experience. There has to be a beginning for everything, hasn't there? I see. Quite inexperienced. An old house. I hope you haven't got any dry rot. Certainly not. A lot of people don't know they have got dry rot until it's too late to do anything about it. The house is in perfect condition. It could do with a coat of paint. You know, you have got worm in this oak.
This way, Major. This is my wife.
How do you do? Absolute blizzard outside. Thought at one time we should make it. Oh, I beg your pardon. If it goes on like this, I should say you will have 5 or 6 feet of snow by morning. Not seen anything like it since I was on leave in 1940.
I'll take these up for you. Which room did you say? Blue room and the rose room?
No, I put Mr. Wren in the rose room. He liked the four-poster so much. So it's Mrs. Boyle in the oak room and Major Metcalf in the blue room.
Major!
So,
Do you have much servant difficulty here? We have quite a good local woman who comes in from the village. And what indoor staff? No indoor staff, just us. Indeed. I understood this was a guest house in full running order. We are just starting. I would have said that a proper staff of servants was essential before opening this kind of establishment. I consider your advertisement was most misleading. May I ask if I'm the only guest with Major Metcalf, that is? Oh no, there are several here. This weather too. A blizzard, no less. All very unfortunate. But we couldn't very well foresee the weather.
The north wind doth blow and it will bring snow. And what will the robin do then, poor thing? I don't know rhymes, don't you? Always so tragic and macabre. That's why children like them.
May I introduce Mr. Wren, Mrs. Boyle.
Oh, hello.
How do you do?
This is a very beautiful house. Don't you think so?
I have come to the time of life when the amenities of an establishment are more important than its appearance. If I had not believed this was a running concern, I should never have come here. I understand it was fully equipped with every home comfort.
There is no obligation for you to remain here if you're not satisfied, Mrs. Boyle.
No, indeed. I should not think of doing so.
If there has been any misapprehension, it would perhaps be better if you went elsewhere. I could ring up for the taxi to return. The roads are not yet blocked. We have had so many applications for rooms that we'll be able to fill your place quite easy. In any case, we are raising our terms next month.
I'm certainly not going to leave before I've tried what this place is like. You need not think you can turn me out now. Perhaps you will take me up to my bedroom, Mrs. Ralston. Certainly, Mrs. Boyle. Darling, you are wonderful.
I think that's a perfectly horrible woman. I don't like her a bit. I'd love to see you turn her out into the snow. Serve her right.
it's a pleasure I have to forgo, I'm afraid. Lord, there's another of them.
Come in, sir.
Afraid my cars bogged about half a mile down the road. Ran into a drift.
Let me take this.
Any more stuff in the car?
No, I travel light. I wish there was a fire.
Mr. Red, miss,
Case when?
my wife will be there in a moment.
No hurry. Got to get myself thawed out. Looks as though you're going to be snowed up in here. Weather forecast says heavy falls expected. Motorists warned, etc. Hope you've got plenty of provisions in
Oh yes, my wife's an excellent manager. Anyway, we can always eat our hens.
before we start eating each other, huh?
Any news in the paper apart from the weather?
Usual political crisis. Oh yes, and a rather juicy murder.
Murder! Oh, I like murders!
They seem to think it was a homicidal maniac. Strangled a woman somewhere near Paddington. Sex maniac, I suppose.
It doesn't say much, does it? The police are anxious to interview someone seen in the vicinity of Culver Street at the time. Medium height, wearing darkish overcoat, lighter scarf and a soft felt hat. Police messages to this regard have been broadcast throughout the day.
Useful description. Fit pretty well anyone, wouldn't it?
When it says that the police are anxious to interview someone, is that a polite way of hinting that he's the murderer?
Could be.
Who was the woman who was murdered?
Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Maureen Lyon.
Young or old?
It doesn't say. It doesn't seem to have been robbery.
I told you, a maniac.
Here's Miss Casewell Molly, my wife.
How do you do?
What an awful night. Would you like to come up to your room? The water's hot if you'd like a bath.
You're right, I would.
I must hurry out to the kitchen and get on with things. Major Metcalf is very nice. He won't be difficult. It's Mrs. Boyle really frightens me. We must have a nice dinner. I was thinking of opening 2 tins of minced beef and cereal, and a tin of peas, and mashing the potatoes. There's stewed figs and custard. Do you think that will be all right?
Oh, I should think so. Not very original, perhaps.
Oh, do let me help! I adore cooking. Why not an omelette? You've got eggs, haven't you?
Oh yes, we have got plenty of eggs. We keep lots of fowls. They don't lay as well as they should, but we have put down a lot of eggs.
And if you've got a bottle of cheap any type wine, you could add it to the minced beef and cereal, did you say? Give it a continental flavor. Show me where the kitchen is and what you've got. And I dare say, I shall have an inspiration.
Come on. Isn't he sweet? He's put on an apron and is getting all the things together. He says leave it all to him and don't come back for half an hour. If our guests want to do the cooking themselves, it will save a lot of trouble.
Why on earth did you give him the best room?
I told you, he liked the 4-poster.
He liked the pretty 4-poster. Well,
Giles,
I have got no use for that kind. You didn't handle the suitcase. I did.
had it got bricks in it?
It was no weight at all. If you ask me, there was nothing inside it. He's probably one of those young men who go about bilking hotel keepers.
I don't believe it. I like him. I think Miss Casewell's rather peculiar, don't you?
Terrible female, if she is a female.
It seems very hard that all our guests should be either unpleasant or odd. Anyway, I think Major Metcalf's all right.
Probably drinks.
Do you think so?
No, I don't. I was rather feeling depressed. Well, at any rate, we don't know the bus now. They have all arrived.
Who can that be?
Probably the Culver Street murderer.
Don't.
Oh, 1,000 pardons. I am? Where am I?
This is Vauxhall Manor Guest House.
But what stupendous good fortune! Madame! What an answer to prayer! A guest house and a charming hostess! My Rolls Royce, alas, has run into a snowdrift. Blinding snow everywhere. I do not know Perhaps I think to myself, I shall freeze to death. And then I take a little bag. I stagger through the snow and I see before me big iron gates. A habitation. I am saved. Twice I fall into the snow as I come up your drive. But at last I arrive. And immediately, despair turns to joy. You can let me have a room. Yes? Oh yes.
I'm afraid it's rather a small one.
Naturally. You have other guests.
We have just opened this place as a guest house today. So we are rather new at it.
Charming.
What about your luggage?
That is of no consequence. I have locked the car securely.
But wouldn't it be better to get it in?
No. I can assure you on such a night as this, there will be no thieves abroad. And for me, my wants are very simple. I have all I need. Here, in this little bag. Yes, all that I need.
You'd better get thoroughly warm.
You have several guests then?
Yes, there's Mrs. Boyle and Major Metcalf and Miss Casewell and a young man called Christopher Wren and now you.
Yes. The unexpected guest. The guest that you did not invite. The guest who just arrived from nowhere, out of the storm. Sounds quite dramatic, does it not? Who am I? You do not know. Where do I come from? You do not know. Me? I am the man of mystery. But now I tell you this. I complete the picture. From now on, there will be no more arrivals. And no departures either. By tomorrow, perhaps even already, they are cut off from civilization. No butcher, no baker, no milkman, no postman, no daily papers. Nobody and nothing but ourselves. That is admirable. Could not suit me any better. My name, by the way, is Paravicini. Mr. and Mrs. Ralston. And this is Monsell Manor Guest House, you said. Good. Monsell Manor Guest House. Perfect.
I consider it very dishonest not to have told me they were only just starting this place.
Well, everything has got to a beginning. You know, excellent breakfast this morning. Good coffee, bacon, homemade marmalade, and all nicely served too. Little woman does it all herself.
Amateurs. There should be a proper staff.
Excellent lunch too.
Corned beef.
But very well disguised corned beef. Red wine in it. Mrs. Ralston promised to make a pie for us tonight.
These radiators are not really hot. I shall speak about it.
Very comfortable beds too. At least mine was. Hope yours was too.
It was quite adequate. I don't quite see why the best bedroom should have been given to that very peculiar young man.
Got here ahead of us. First come, first served.
From the advertisement, I got quite a different impression of what this place would be like. A comfortable writing room, a much larger place altogether, with bridge and other amenities.
Regular old Tabby's delight.
I beg your pardon?
Yes. I quite see what you mean.
No, indeed. I shan't stay here long.
No. I don't suppose you will.
Really, that is a very peculiar young man. Unbalanced mentally. I shouldn't wonder.
Think he has escaped from a lunatic asylum.
I shouldn't be at all surprised.
I think I must go and get a good exercise.
Sorry, that's all right. Really, what an incredible young woman. Doesn't she know anything about housework? Carrying a bucket through the front hall. Aren't there any back stairs? Oh yes, nice stairs. Thank God there's a good fire. Then why not use those stairs? Anyway, all the housework should have been done in the morning before lunch. I gather our hostess had to cook the lunch. All very haphazard and amateurish. There should be a proper staff. Not very easy to get nowadays, is it? No, indeed. The lower classes seem to have no idea of their responsibilities. Poor old lower classes got a bit between their teeth, haven't they? I gather you're a socialist. Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm not a red, just pale pink. But I don't take much interest in politics. I live abroad. I suppose conditions are much easier abroad. I don't have to cook and clean, as I gather most people have to do in this country. This country has gone sadly downhill. Not what it used to be. I sold my house last year. Everything was too difficult. Hotels and guest houses are easier. They certainly solve some of one's problem. Are you over in England for long? Depends. I've got some business to see to. When it's done, I shall go back. To France? No. Italy? No. Would you mind not having that on quite so loud? I always find the radio rather distracting when one is trying to write letters. Do you? If you don't particularly want to listen just now. It's my favorite music. There's a writing table in there. I know, but it's much warmer here. Much warmer, I agree. Bloody old hat.
Oh,
Hello.
wherever I go, that woman seems to hunt me down. And then she glares at me. Positively glares.
Turn it down a bit.
Is that alright?
Oh yes, it served its purpose.
What purpose?
Tactics, boy.
Oh, you mean her?
She builds the best hair. I've got it now.
You drove her out. I'm glad. I'm very glad. I don't like her a bit. Let's think of things we could do to annoy her, shall we? I wish she'd go away from here.
In this weather, not a hope.
But where the snow melts?
Oh, when the snow melts, lots of things may have happened.
Yes, that's true. Snows are the lovely, isn't it? So peaceful and pure. And it makes one forget things.
It doesn't make me forget.
How fierce you sound.
I was thinking,
What sort of thinking?
ice on a bedroom jug, chilblains, raw and bleeding. One thin ragged blanket, a child shivering with cold and fear.
That sounds too grim. What is it, a novel?
You didn't know I was a writer, did you?
Are you?
Sorry to disappoint you. Actually, I'm not.
Yes, to the Smokeson Manor guest house. What? I'm afraid Mr. Ralston can't come to the telephone just now. This is Mrs. Ralston speaking. Who? The Berkshire Police? Oh yes, Superintendent Hogben. I'm afraid that's impossible. He'd never get here. Yes, Nora. Completely Soda. The roads are impassable. But nothing can get through. Yes. Very well. But hello?
Molly, do you know where there's another spade?
Giles, the police have just rung up.
Trouble with the police, huh? Serving liquor without a license.
They are sending out an inspector or sergeant or something.
But he will never get here.
That's what I told them. But they seem quite confident that he would.
Nonsense. Even a jeep can't get through today. Anyway, what's it all about?
That's what I asked. But he wouldn't say.
just said I was to impress on my husband to listen very carefully to what Sergeant Trotter, I think it was, had to say, and to follow his instructions implicitly. Isn't it extraordinary?
What on earth do you think we have done?
We must have done something.
Probably something to do with running this place. I expect we have ignored some tin pot regulation of some ministry or the other. You practically cannot avoid it nowadays.
I wish we had never started this place. We are going to be snowed up for days, and everyone is cross. And we shall go through all our reserve of tins.
Cheer up, darling. Everything's going all right at the moment. I've filled up all the coal cutters and brought in the wood. Soaked the aga and done the hens. I'll go into the boilers next and chop some kidney. You know, Molly, come to think of it, it must be something pretty serious to send the sergeant taking out in all this. It must be something really urgent.
There you are, Mr. Ralston. Do you know the central heating in the library is practically stone cold?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Boyle, we are a bit short of...
I am paying 7 guineas a week here. 7 guineas. And I do not want to freeze.
I'll go and soak it up.
Mrs. Ralston, if you don't mind my saying so, that is a very extraordinary young man you have staying here. His manners and his ties, and does he ever brush his hair? He is a brilliant young architect. I beg your pardon? Christopher Wren is an architect. My dear young woman, I have naturally heard of Sir Christopher Wren. Of course he was an architect. He built St. Paul's. You young people seem to think that no one is educated but yourselves. I meant this Wren. His name is Christopher. His parents call him that because they hoped he'd be an architect. And he is, or nearly one, so it turned out all right. Sounds a fishy story to me. I should have made some inquiries about him if I were you. What do you know of him? Just as much as I know about you, Mrs. Boyle. Which is that you're both paying us 7 guineas a week. That's really all I need to know, isn't it? And all that concerns me. It doesn't matter to me whether I like my guests or I don't. You are young and inexperienced and should welcome advice from someone more knowledgeable than yourself. And what about this foreigner? What about him? You weren't expecting him, were you? To turn away a bona fide traveller is against the law, Mrs. Boyle. You should know that. Why do you say that? Weren't you a magistrate sitting on the bench, Mrs. Boyle? All I say is that this Paravicini, or whatever he calls himself...
Beware, dear lady. You talk of the devil and there he is.
I didn't hear you come in.
I came in on tiptoe, like this. Nobody ever hears me if I do not want them to. I find that very amusing.
Indeed.
Now there was a young
Well,
lady...
I must get on with my letters. I'll see if it's a little warmer in the drawing room.
My charming hostess looks upset. What is it, dear lady?
Everything's rather difficult this morning because of the snow.
Yes. Snow makes things difficult, does it not? Or else it makes them easy. Yes. Very easy.
I don't know what you mean.
No. There is quite a lot you do not know. I think for one thing that you do not know very much about running a guest house.
I dare say we don't. But we need to make a go of it.
Bravo! Bravo!
I'm not such a very bad cook.
You are without doubt an enchanting cook. But may I give you a little word of warning, Mrs. Ralston? You and your husband must not be too trusting, you know. Have you references with these guests of yours?
Is that usual? I always thought people just came.
It is advisable to know a little about the people who sleep under your roof. Take for example myself. I turn up saying that my car is overturned in a snowdrift. What do you know of me? Nothing at all. I may be a thief, a robber, a fugitive from justice, a madman, even a murderer.
Oh,
You see? And perhaps you know just as little of your other guests.
well, as far as Mrs. Boyle goes, I know that the room is far too cold to sit in. I shall write my letters in here.
Allow me to poke the fire for you. Mr. Ralston, is your husband about? I am afraid the pipes of the downstairs cloakroom are frozen.
Oh dear, what an awful day. First the police and then the pipe. Police?
Police, did you say?
Yes, they rang up just now to say they are sending a sergeant out here. But I don't think he'll ever get here.
The dirty coke's more than half stones. And the price. Hello, is anything the matter?
I hear the police are on their way here. Why?
Oh, that's all right. No one can get through in this. Why? The drifts must be 5 feet deep. The roads are all banged up. Nobody will get it. Excuse me, Mr. Palavicini. May I put these down?
Are you Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Detective Sergeant Trotter, Berkshire Police. Can I get these keys off and store them somewhere?
Wait a minute.
Thank you, sir.
I suppose that's what we pay our police force for nowadays. To go around enjoying themselves at winter sports.
Why did you send for the police, Mrs. Ralston?
But I did.
Who's that man? Where did he come from? He passed the drawing room window on skis all over snow and looking terribly hearty.
You may believe it or not, but the man is a policeman. A policeman skiing.
This is Detective Sergeant Trotter.
Good afternoon.
You can't be a sergeant. You are too young.
I'm not perhaps quite as young as I look, madam.
But terribly hearty.
The store's keys are under the stairs.
Excuse me, Mr. Ralston, but may I use the telephone?
Of course, Major Metcalf.
He's very attractive, don't you think so? I always think that policemen are very attractive.
No brains. You can see that at a glance.
Hello? Hello? Mr. Ralston, this telephone is dead. Quite dead.
It was all right about half an hour ago.
The line has gone with the weight of the snow, I suppose.
So we are quite cut off now. Quite cut off. That's funny, isn't it?
I don't see anything to laugh at.
No, indeed.
It's a private joke of my own. The sleuth is returning.
Now we can get to business, Mr. Austin. Mr. Austin,
Do you want to see us alone? If so, we can go into the library.
it's not necessary, sir. It will save time if everyone's present. If I may sit at the table, I beg your pardon.
Do hurry up and tell us. What have you done?
Done? Oh, it's nothing of that kind, Mrs. Austin. It's something quite different. It's more a matter of police protection, if you understand me.
Police protection?
It relates to the death of Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Maureen Lyon, of 24 Culver Street, London, West 2, who was murdered yesterday, the 15th instant. You may have heard or read about the case.
Yes, I heard it on the wireless. The woman who was strangled?
That's right, madam. Now the first thing I want to know is if you are acquainted with this Mrs. Lyon.
Never heard of her.
You may not have heard of her under the name of Lyon. Lyon wasn't her real name. She had a police record, and her fingerprints were on file. So we were able to identify her without difficulty. Her real name was Maureen Stanning. Her husband was a farmer, John Stanning, who resided at Longridge Farm, not very far from here.
Longridge Farm. Wasn't that where those children?
Yes, sir. The Longridge Farm case.
3 children?
The Corrigans, 2 boys and a girl, brought before the court as in need of care and protection. A home was found for them with Mr. and Mrs. Stanning at Longridge Farm. One of the children subsequently died as a result of criminal neglect and persistent ill treatment. The case made a bit of a sensation at the time.
It was horrible.
The Stannings were sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Stanning died in prison. Mrs. Stanning served her sentence and was duly released. Yesterday, as I say, she was found strangled at 24 Culver Street.
Who did it?
I'm coming to that, madam. A notebook was picked up near the scene of the crime. On it was written 2 addresses. One was 24 Culver Street. The other was Monksville Manor.
What?
Yes, sir. That's why Superintendent Hogben, on receiving this information from Scotland Yard, thought it imperative for me to come here and find out if you knew of any connection between this house or anyone in this house and the Longridge Farm case.
There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. It must be a coincidence.
Superintendent Hogben doesn't think it's a coincidence, sir. He would have come himself if it had been in any way possible. Given the weather conditions and his eye can ski, he sent me along with instructions to get full particulars of everyone in this house, to report back to him by phone and take whatever measures I thought fit to ensure the safety of this household.
Safety? But what danger does he think we are in? Good Lord, he's not suggesting that somebody is going to be killed here.
I don't want to frighten any of the ladies, but frankly, yes, that's the idea.
But why?
That is what I'm here to find out.
But the whole thing is crazy.
Yes, sir. It's because it's crazy that it's dangerous.
Nonsense! I must say, it seems a bit far-fetched.
I think it's wonderful.
Is there something you haven't told us, Sergeant?
Yes, Mrs. Dawson. Below the two addresses was written 3 blind mice. And on the dead woman's body was a note with "This is the first" written on it. And below the words was a drawing of 3 little mice and a bar of music. The music was the tune of the nursery rhyme 3 blind mice. You know how it goes. 3 blind mice.
3 blind mice. See how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife. Oh, it's horrible.
There were 3 children and 1 died.
Yes, the youngest, a boy of 11.
What happened to the other 2?
The girl was adopted by someone. We haven't been able to trace her present whereabouts. The elder boy would now be about 22. Deserted from the army and has not been heard of since. According to the army psychologist, was definitely schizophrenic. A bit queer in the head, that's to say.
They think that it was he who killed Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Stanning,
Yes,
and that he's a homicidal maniac, and that he will turn up here and try to kill someone. But why?
that is what I've got to find out from you. As the superintendent sees it, there must be some connection. Now you state, sir, that you yourself have never had any connection with that business at Longwich Farm?
No.
And the same goes for you, madam.
Hi? No, I mean no connection.
What about servants?
We haven't got any servants. That reminds me. Would you mind, Sergeant Trotter, if I went to the kitchen? I'll be there if you want me.
That's quite all right, Mrs. Dawson. Now, can I have all your names, please?
This is quite ridiculous. We are merely staying in a kind of hotel. We only arrived yesterday and have nothing to do with this place.
You'd planned to come in advance, though. You'd all booked your rooms here ahead.
Well, yes. All except Mr.
Paravicini. My car overturned in a snowdrift.
I see. What I'm getting at here is that anyone who's been following you around might very well know that you were coming here. There's just one thing I want to know, and I want to know it quick. Which one of you is it that has some connection with that business at Longwich Farm? You're not being very sensible, you know. One of you is in danger. Deadly danger. I've got to know which one that is. All right. I'll ask you one by one. You first. Since you seem to have got here more or less by accident. Mr. Parry?
Paravicini. But my dear Inspector, I know nothing of what you have been talking about. I am a stranger in this country. I know nothing of these local affairs of bygone years.
Mrs.
Boyle. I don't see. Really, I consider it an impertinence. Why on earth should I have anything to do with such this distressing business?
Miss?
Casewell. Leslie Casewell. I never heard of Longwich Farm and I know nothing about it.
You, sir.
Redcar. Major. Read about the case in the papers at the time. I was stationed at Edinburgh then. No personal knowledge.
And you, sir?
Christopher Wren. I was a mere child at the time. I don't remember even hearing about it.
And that's all you have to say? Any of you? Well, if one of you get murdered, you'll have yourself to blame. Mr. Ralston, can I get a look around the house?
My dears, how melodramatic. He's very attractive, don't you think so? I do admire the police. So stern and hard-boiled. Quite a thrill, this whole business. 3 blind mice. How does the tune go? Na na
Really,
na.
Mr. Wren?
Don't you like it? But it's the signature tune. the signature tune of the murder. Just fancy murdering, he must be getting out of it.
Melodramatic rubbish. I don't believe a word of it.
Oh, but wait. Just wait, Mrs. Boyle. Till I creep up behind you. And you feel my hands on your slap!
That will do, Christopher. It's a poor joke anyway. In fact, it's not a joke at all.
Oh, but it is. That's just what it is. A madman's joke. That's what makes it so deliciously macabre. If you could just see your faces.
A singularly ill-mannered and neurotic young man.
Where's Giles?
Taking a policeman on a conducted tour of the house. Your friend, the architect, has been behaving in a most abnormal manner.
Young fellows seem nervy nowadays. Dare say, he'll grow out of it.
Nerves. I have no patience with people who say they have nerves. I haven't got any nerves.
No, perhaps that is just as well for you, Mrs. Boyle.
What do you mean?
I think you were actually one of the magistrates on the bench at the time. In fact, you were responsible for sending those 3 children to Longridge Farm.
Really, Major Metcalf? I can hardly be held responsible. We had reports from welfare workers. The farm people seemed really nice and most anxious to have children. It seemed more satisfactory. Eggs, fresh milk, and a healthy out of those life.
Kicks, blows, starvation, and a thoroughly vicious couple.
But how was I to know? They were very civilly spoken. I was right. It was you. One tries to do a public duty, and all one gets is abuse.
You must forgive me, but indeed I find all this most amusing. I enjoy myself greatly.
I never did like that man.
Where did he come from last night?
I don't know.
Looks a bit of a spirit to me. Makes his face up too. Rouge and powder. Disgusting. He must be quite old too.
And yet he skips about as if he were quite young.
You only wanting more wood. I'll get it.
It's almost dark. And yet it's only 4 in the afternoon. I'll turn the lights on. That's better.
Now, where did I leave my pen?
What a horrid tune that is.
Don't you like it? Reminds you of your childhood perhaps. An unhappy childhood.
I was very happy as a child.
You were lucky.
Weren't you happy?
No.
I'm sorry.
But all that's a long time ago. One gets over things.
I suppose so.
Or doesn't one? Damn hard to say.
They say what happens when you're a child matters more than anything else.
They say. Who says?
Psychologists.
All humbug. Just a damn lot of nonsense. I have no use for psychologists and psychiatrists.
I never really had much to do with them.
A good thing for you, you haven't. It's all a lot of hooey. The whole thing. Life's what you make of it. Go straight ahead. Never look back.
One can't always help looking back.
Nonsense. It's a question of willpower.
Perhaps.
I know.
I expect you are right. But sometimes things happen to make you remember about.
Don't give in. Turn your back on them.
Is that really the right way? I wonder. Perhaps that's all wrong. Perhaps we're not ready to face them.
Depends what you're talking about.
Sometimes I hardly know what I'm talking about.
Nothing from the past is going to affect me. Except in the way I want it to.
Well, everything's all right upstairs. What's in here? Drawing room?
Would you mind shutting that door? This place is full of draughts.
I'm sorry, madam, but I've got to get the lay of the land.
Molly, what's all this going on?
Well, that completes the tour. Nothing suspicious. I think I'll make my report now to Superintendent Hawkins.
But you can't telephone. The line's dead.
What? Since when?
Major Metcalf tried it just after you arrived.
But it was all right earlier. Superintendent Hawkins got through all right.
Oh yes. I suppose since then. The lines are down with the snow.
I wonder. It may have been cut.
Cut? But who could cut it?
Mr. Ralston, just how much do you know about these people living in your guest house?
We don't really know anything about them.
Mrs. Ball wrote from Bournemouth Hotel. Major Metcalf wrote from an address in, where was it?
Leamington.
Wren wrote from Hampstead. And the Casewell woman from a private hotel in Kensington. Para Vicini, as they have already told you, turned up out of the blue last night. Still, I suppose they've all got ration books. That sort of a thing.
I shall look into all that, of course. But there's not much lines to be put into that sort of evidence.
But even if this maniac is trying to get here and kill us all, or one of us, we are quite safe now because of the snow. No one can get here till it melts.
Unless he's here already.
Here already?
Why not, Mr. Ralston? All these guests arrived there yesterday evening. Some hours after the murder of Mrs. Stanning. Plenty of time to get here.
But except for Mr. Paravicini, all had booked beforehand.
Well, why not, Mr. Ralston? These crimes were planned.
Crimes? But there has been only one crime in Culver Street. Why are you so sure there will be another here?
That it will happen here? No. I hope to prevent that. That it will be attempted? Yes.
Can't believe it. The whole thing is absurd.
It's not absurd. It's just facts.
Do you have a description of what this man looked like?
Medium height, indeterminate build, darkish overcoat, soft felt hat, spoke in a whisper, face hidden by a muffler. There are 3 darkish overcoats hanging in the hall now. One of them is yours, Mr. Ralston. There are 3 lightish.
I still can't believe it.
You know, it's this telephone wire that worries me. If it's been cut.
I must go and get on with vegetables.
Is there an extension?
I beg your pardon. Did you say something?
I said, is there an extension?
Yes, up in our bedroom.
Go and try it there for me, will you?
Let this window open.
To understand why any term has the mechanics of fear, you have to study the side effects produced on the human mind. Imagine, for instance, that you are alone in a room. It is late in the afternoon. A door opens softly behind you.
Oh, it's you. I can't find any program worth listening to. Hey, what are you doing? Why did you turn off the lights?
Why is it all dark? What a noise!
Now, Mrs. Ralston, try and think. Think.
I can't think! My head's numb.
Mrs. Boyle had only just been killed when you came to her. You came from the kitchen. Are you sure you didn't see or hear anybody as you came along the hallway?
Oh no, I don't think so. Just the radio blaring out in here. I couldn't think to turn it on so loud. I wouldn't hear anything else with that, would I?
That was clearly the murderer's idea. Or murderess.
How could I hear anything else?
You might have done. If the killer left the hall that way, he might have heard you coming from the kitchen and slipped up the back stairs.
I think. I'm not sure. I heard a door creak and shut. Just as I came out of the kitchen.
Which door?
I don't know.
Think, Mrs. Ralston, try and think. Upstairs, downstairs, closer down, right, left.
I don't know. I tell you. I'm not even sure I heard anything.
Can't you stop pulling her? Can't you see she's all in?
We are investigating a murder case, Mr. Ralston. Up to now, nobody has taken this thing seriously. Mrs. Boyle didn't. Mrs. Boyle held out on me. You all held out on me. Mrs. Boyle is dead. Unless we get to the bottom of this. And quickly, mind. There may be another death.
Another? Nonsense, why?
Because there were 3 little blind mice.
A death for each of them. But there would have to be some connection. I mean, another connection with the longest farm business.
Yes, there would have to be that.
But why another death here?
Because there were only 2 addresses in the notebook we found. Now at 24 Culver Street, there was only one possible victim. She's dead. But here at Monkswell Manor, there's a much wider field.
Nonsense! Surely it would be a most unlikely coincidence that there should be 2 people brought here by chance. Both of them with a share in the Longridge farm case.
Given certain circumstances, it shouldn't be too much of a coincidence. Think it out, Miss Casewell. Now I want to get down quite clearly where everyone was at the time the murder was committed. I've already got Mrs. Ralston's statement. You were in the kitchen preparing vegetables. You came out of the kitchen, along the passage, through the swing door into the hall and in here. The radio was blaring, but the light was switched off, and the hall was dark. You switched the light on, saw Mrs. Boyle and screamed.
Yes, I screamed and screamed. And at last people came.
Yes, as you say, people came. A lot of people from different directions. All arriving more or less at once. Now, Mr. Ralston, when I went out of that door to follow the telephone wire, you had gone upstairs to the room you and Mrs. Ralston occupied to examine the extension telephone. Where were you when Mrs. Ralston screamed?
I was still up in the bedroom. The extension telephone was dead too. I looked out of the window to see if I could see any signs of wires being cut there, but I couldn't. Just after I closed the window again, I heard Molly scream and I rushed out.
Those simple actions took you rather a long time, didn't they?
I don't think so.
I should say you definitely took your time over them.
I was thinking about something.
Very well. Mr. Wren, I'll have your account of where you were.
I had been in the kitchen, seeing if there was anything I could do to help Mrs. Ralston. I adore cooking. After that, I went upstairs to my bedroom.
Why?
It's quite a natural thing to go to one's bedroom, don't you think? I mean, one does want to be alone sometimes.
You went to your bedroom because you wanted to be alone.
And I wanted to brush my hair and tidy up.
You wanted to brush your hair.
Anyway, that's where I was.
And you heard Mrs. Ralston scream.
Yes.
And you came down.
Yes.
Curious that you and Mrs. Ralston didn't meet on the stairs.
I came down by the back stairs, then nearer to my room.
Did you go by the back stairs too? Or did you come through here?
I went up by the back stairs too.
I see. Mr. Parravicini.
I have told you. I was playing the piano in the drawing room. Through there, Inspector.
Not an inspector. Just a sergeant, Mr. Parravicini. Did anybody hear you playing the piano?
I do not expect so. I was playing very, very softly. With one finger. So,
You were playing 3 blind mice.
Is that so?
yes. It is a very catchy little tune. It is, how shall I say, a haunting little tune. Don't you all agree?
I think it's horrible.
And yet, it runs in people's heads. Someone was whistling it too.
Whistling it? Where?
I'm not sure. Perhaps in the front hall. Perhaps on the stairs. Perhaps even upstairs in the bedroom.
Who was whistling 3 blind mice? Are you making this up, Parravicini?
No, Inspector. I beg your pardon. Sergeant. I would not do such a thing.
Major Metcalf, what about you? You say you were in the cellar. Why?
Looking around. Just looking around. I looked into that cupboard place under the stairs near the kitchen. Lot of junk and exposed tackle. Then I noticed there was the door inside it. I opened it and saw a flight of steps. I was curious and I went down. Nice cellars you have got.
Glad you like them.
Not at all. Crypt of an old monastery, I should say. Probably that's why this place is called Monkswell.
We are not engaged in antiquarian research, Major Metcalf. We are investigating a murder here. Miss Casewell,
I was writing letters in the library.
could you hear what was going on in here?
No, I didn't hear anything until Mrs. Ralston screamed.
And what did you do then?
I came in here.
At once?
I think so.
You say you were writing letters in the library when you heard Mrs. Ralston scream.
Yes.
And you got it from the writing table hurriedly and came in here.
Yes.
And yet there doesn't seem to be any unfinished letter in the library.
I brought it with me.
Dearest Jessie. A friend of yours or a relation?
That's none of your damn business.
Perhaps not. You know, if I were to hear someone screaming blue murder when I was writing a letter, I don't think that I'd take the time to pick up Manfred's letter, fold it, and put it in my handbag before going to see what was the matter.
You wouldn't. How interesting.
Now, Mrs. Ralston told us that she heard a door shut with a faint creak. That particular door shuts with a creak. It could be, you know, that after killing Mrs. Boyle, the murderer heard Mrs. Ralston coming from the kitchen and slipped into the cupboard, pulling the door to after him.
A lot of this could be.
There would be fingerprints on the inside of the cupboard.
Man, are they all right? But most criminals are careful to wear gloves, aren't they?
It's usual. But all criminals slip up sooner or later.
Now I wonder, Sergeant, if that's really true. Look here, aren't we wasting time? There's only one
Please,
person.
Mr. Ralston, I'm in charge of this investigation.
Oh, very well,
Mr. Ralston, thank you, sir. We've got to establish opportunity, you know, as well as motive. And let me tell you this. You all had opportunity. There are two staircases. Anyone could have gone up by one and come down by the other. The vital fact was that every one of you was alone at the time the murder was committed.
But look here, Sergeant. You speak as though we were all under suspicion.
In a murder case, everyone is under suspicion.
But you know pretty well who killed that woman in Culver Street. You think it's the eldest of those three children in the farm? A mentally abnormal young man who's not 23 years of age. But damn it all, there's only one person who fits the bill.
It's not true. It's not true. You're all against me. Everyone has always been against me. You're going to blame me for murder. It's persecution. That's what it is. Persecution.
Steady, lad. Steady.
It's all right, Chris. Nobody's against you. Tell him it's all right.
We don't frame people.
Tell him you're not going to arrest him.
I'm not arresting anyone. To do that, I've got to have evidence. I haven't got any evidence yet.
I think you're crazy, Molly. And you too. There's only one person who fits the bill. And if only as a safety measure, he ought to be put under arrest. It's only fair to the rest of us.
Wait, Giles, wait. Sergeant Trotter, can I speak to you a minute?
Certainly, Mrs. Dawson. Will the rest of you go into the dining room, please?
I'm saying.
No, Giles.
I am saying. I don't know what's come over you, Molly.
Please, Giles.
Yes, Mrs. Dawson. What is it you want to say to me?
Sergeant Trotter, you think that this crazy killer must be the eldest of those boys at the farm. But you don't know that, do you?
We don't actually know a thing. All we've got so far is that the woman who joined with her husband in ill-treating and starving those children has been killed. And that the woman magistrate who was responsible for putting them there has been killed. Telephone wire that links me with police headquarters has been cut.
You don't even know that. It may have been Douglas, no?
No, Mrs. Dawson. The line was deliberately cut. It was cut just outside by the front door. I found the place.
I see.
Sit down, Mrs. Dawson.
But all the same, you don't know.
I'm going by probability. It all points one way. Mental instability, childish mentality, desertion from the army and the psychiatrist's report.
Oh, I know. And therefore it all seems to point to Christopher. But I don't believe it is Christopher. There must be other possibilities.
Such as?
Well, hadn't those children any relations at all?
The mother was a drunk. She died soon after the children were taken away from her.
What about their father?
He was an army sergeant, serving abroad. If he's alive, he's probably discharged from the army by now.
You don't know where he is now, do you?
We have no information. To trace him may take some time, but I can assure you, Mrs. Ralston, the police take every eventuality into account.
But you don't know where he may be at this minute. If the son is mentally unstable, the father may have been unstable too.
Well, it's a possibility.
If he came home, and after being a prisoner with the Japs, perhaps in having suffered terribly, if he came home and found his wife dead, and his children had gone through some terrible experience, one of them had died through it, he might go off his head a bit and want revenge.
That's only surmise.
But it's possible.
Oh yes, Mrs. Ralston. It's quite possible.
So, the murderer may be middle-aged or even old. When I said the police had rung up, Major Metcalf was frightfully upset. He really was. I saw his face.
Major Metcalf.
Middle-aged, A soldier. He seems quite nice and perfectly normal, but it might not show, might it?
No, often it doesn't show at all.
So, it's not only Christopher who's a suspect, there's Major Metcalf as well.
Any other suggestions?
Well, Mr. Paravicini did drop the poker when I said the police had rung up.
Mr. Paravicini.
I know he seems quite old and foreign and everything, but he might not really be as old as he looks. He moves like a much younger man, and he's definitely got makeup on his face. Miss Casewell noticed it too. He might be, oh I know it sounds very melodramatic, but he might be disguised.
You're very anxious, aren't you? That it shouldn't be young Mr. Wren.
He seems so helpless somehow, and so unhappy.
Well, let me tell you something, Mrs. Ralston. I've had all possibilities in mind ever since the beginning. The boy Georgie, the father, and someone else. It was a sister, you remember?
The sister?
Yes. It may have been a woman who killed Maureen Lyon. Yes, a woman. The muffler pulled up, and the man's felt hat pulled well down. And the killer whispered, you know, it's the voice that gives the sex away. Yes, it may have been a woman.
Miss Casewell.
She looks a bit old for the part. Oh yes, Mrs. Ralston. There's a very wide field. There's yourself, for instance.
Me?
No, whatever you've got to tell me about yourself, I've got no means of taking it at this point. And then there's your husband.
Giles? How ridiculous.
He and Christopher are much of an age. Say your husband looks older than his years, and Christopher Wren looks younger. Actual age is very hard to tell. Just how much do you know about your husband, Mrs. Ralston?
How much do I know about Giles? Oh, don't be silly.
You've been married how long?
Just a year.
And you met him where?
Had a dance in London. We went in a party.
Did you meet his people?
He hasn't any people. They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Yes, but don't you make it sound all wrong. His father was a barrister, and his mother died when he was a baby.
You're only telling me what he told you.
Yes, but
You don't know it of your own knowledge.
It's outrageous.
You'd be surprised, Mrs. Ralston, if you knew how many cases rather like yours we get. Especially since the war. Homes broken up, and families dead. Fellow says he's been in the Air Force, or just finished his army training. Parents killed, no relations. Girl just marries a man. Sometimes she doesn't find out for a year or two, but he's an absconding bank clerk, or an army deserter, or something equally undesirable. How long have you known Giles Ralston when you married him?
just 3 weeks, but
And you don't know anything about him?
that's not true. I know everything about him. I know exactly the sort of person he is. He's Giles. And it's absolutely absurd to suggest he's some crazy homicidal maniac. Why? He wasn't even in London when the murder took place.
Where was he? Here.
He went across country to get some wire netting for our chickens.
Bring it back with him.
It turned out to be the wrong kind.
Only 30 miles from London, aren't you? You've got an ABC. And now by train. A little longer by car.
I tell you, Giles wasn't in London.
Just a minute, please. This your husband's coat?
Yes.
Evening news. Yesterday's. Sold in London on the streets about 3:30 yesterday afternoon.
I don't believe it.
Don't you? Don't you?
Molly,
Oh, you startled me.
where is he? Where has he gone?
Who?
The sergeant.
He went out that way.
If only I could get away from here. Somehow, some way. Is there anywhere I could hide in the house?
Hide.
Yes, from him.
But why?
But darling, they're also pridefully against me. They're going to say I committed these murders, particularly her husband.
Never mind him. Listen, Christopher. You can't go on running away from things all your life.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's quite true.
You've got to grow up some time, Chris.
I wish I hadn't.
Your name isn't really Christopher Wren, is it?
No,
And you are not really training to be an architect?
No.
Why did you?
Call myself Christopher Wren. It just amused me. And then they used to laugh at me at school and call me Little Christopher Robin. Robin, Wren, association of ideas. It was hell being at school.
What's your real name?
We need not go into that. I ran away whilst I was doing my army service. It was all so beastly, I hated it. Yes, I'm just like the unknown murderer. I told you I was the one the specification fitted. You see, my mother. My mother.
Yes, your mother.
Everything would have been alright if she hadn't died. She would have taken care of me and looked after me.
You can't go on being looked after, Chris. Things happen to you and you have got to bear them. You have got to go on just as usual.
One can't do that.
Yes, one can.
You mean you have?
Yes,
What was it? Something very bad.
something I've never forgotten.
Was it to do with Giles?
No, it was long before I met Giles.
But you must have been very young. Almost a child.
Perhaps that's why it was so awful. It was horrible. Horrible. I tried to put it out of my mind. I tried never to think about it.
So you are running away too. Running away from things instead of facing them.
Perhaps, in a way, I am. Considering that I never saw you until yesterday, we seem to know each other rather well.
It's quite odd, isn't it?
I don't know. I suppose there's a sort of sympathy between us.
Anyway, you think I ought to stick it out?
Well, frankly, what else can we do?
I can pinch the sergeant's keys. I can ski quite well.
That would be frightfully stupid. It would be almost like admitting you're guilty.
But Sergeant Trotter thinks I'm guilty.
No, he doesn't. At least I don't know what he thinks. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him.
Who?
Sergeant Trotter. He puts things in your head. Things that aren't true. That can't possibly be true.
What is all this?
I don't believe it. I won't believe it.
What won't you believe? Come on, out with it.
You see that?
Yes?
What is it? Yesterday's evening paper. A London paper. And it was in Giles' pocket. But Giles didn't go to London yesterday.
Well, if he was here all
But
day.
he wasn't. He went off in a car to look for chicken wire. But he couldn't find any.
Well, that's all right. Probably he did go to London after all.
Then why shouldn't he tell me he did? Why pretend he'd been driving all around the countryside?
Probably with the news of the murder.
But he
he
didn't know
thought-
about the murder. What? Did he? Did he?
Dear God, Molly. Surely you don't think the sergeant doesn't think that child?
I don't know what the sergeant thinks. And he can make you think things about people. You ask yourself questions and you begin to doubt. You feel that somebody you love and know well might be a stranger. That's what happens in a nightmare. You are somewhere in the middle of friends and suddenly you look at their faces and they are not your friends any longer. They are different people, just pretending. Perhaps you can't trust anybody. Perhaps everybody's a stranger.
No, Molly. No. Giles won't be the murderer. No.
I seem to be interrupting something.
No. We were just talking. I must go to the kitchen. There's some pie and potatoes and I must do this bread.
I'll come up and help you.
No, you won't.
Guys,
There's a taste aren't very healthy things at present. You keep out of the kitchen and keep away from my wife.
But
You get away from my wife, friend. She's not going to be the next victim.
so that's what you think about me.
I have already said so, haven't I? There's a killer loose in this house. And it seems to be who fits the bill.
I'm not the only one.
I don't see who else does.
Are you really that blind? Or do you just pretend to be?
I tell you, I'm worrying about my wife's safety.
So am I. I'm not going to leave here alone with her.
What the hell are you doing?
please go, Chris.
No, I won't.
Please go, Christopher. Please. I mean it.
I shan't be far away.
Molly, what is all this? You must be crazy. Perfectly prepared to shut yourself into the kitchen with a homicidal maniac.
He isn't.
You only got to look at him to see his Barbie.
He isn't. He's just unhappy. I tell you, Giles, he isn't dangerous. I know if he was dangerous. And anyway, I can look after myself.
That's what Mrs. Boyle
But
said.
I don't.
Look here. What's there between you and that wretched boy?
What do you mean by between us? I'm sorry for him, that's all.
Perhaps you had met him before. Perhaps you had suggested to him to come here. And that you'd both pretend to meet for the first time. All cooked up between you, was it?
Giles, have you gone out of your mind?
Rather odd, isn't it? That he should come and stay at an out-of-the-way place like this.
No order than Miss Casewell. Major Metcalf or Mrs. Boyle should.
I read once in a paper that these homicidal cases were able to attract women. Looks as though it were true. Where did you first learn? How long has this been going on?
You are being absolutely ridiculous. I never set eyes on Christopher Wren until he arrived yesterday.
That's what you say. Perhaps you have been running up to London to meet him all this time.
You know perfectly well that I haven't been up to London for weeks.
You haven't been up to London for weeks. Is that so?
What on earth do you mean? It's quite true.
Is it? Then what's this? This is one of the gloves you were wearing yesterday. You dropped it. I picked it up when I was speaking to Sergeant Daughter this afternoon. You see what's inside it? A London bus ticket.
Oh, that was
So
to
it
do-
seems that you didn't only go to the village yesterday. You went to London as well.
All right. I went to London for something.
Whilst I was safely racing around the countryside.
Whilst you were racing down the countryside.
Come on now, admit it, you went to London.
All right. I went to London. So did you.
What?
So did you. You brought back an evening paper.
Where did you get hold of that?
It was in your overcoat pocket.
Anybody could have put it in there.
Did they? No. You were in London.
All right. Yes, I was in London. But I didn't go to meet a woman there.
Didn't you? Are you sure you did?
What do you mean?
Go away. Don't come near me.
What's the
Don't
matter?
let me.
Molly, did you go to London yesterday to meet Christopher Wren?
Don't be a fool. Of course I did.
Then why did you go?
I shall tell you that. Perhaps now I have forgotten why I went.
Molly, what's come over you? You seem different all of a sudden. It feels as though I don't know you anymore.
Perhaps you never did know me. We have been married how long? A year? But you don't really know anything about me. What I had done, or thought, or felt, or suffered before you knew me.
What the hell are you talking?
All right then. I'm crazy. Why not? Perhaps it's fun to be crazy.
What the hell are you talking about?
No. I do hope you young people are not both saying a little more than you mean. One is so apt to win these lovers' quarrels.
Lovers' quarrels. That's good.
Quite so. Quite so. I know just how you feel. I've been through all this myself when I was a younger man. Jeunesse, as the poet says. Not been married long, I imagine?
It's no business of yours, Paramacini.
No business at all. I just came in to say that the sergeant cannot find his keys and I'm afraid he's very annoyed.
Christopher.
What's that?
He wants to know if you have by any chance moved them, Mr. Ralston.
Of course not.
Mr. Ralston! Mrs. Ralston! Somebody has removed my skis. Can you tell me who did it?
We don't know.
What made you happen to look for them?
The snow's still lying. I need help here. Reinforcements. I was going to ski over to the police station to report on the situation.
And now you can't. Dear. Somebody's seen to it that you certainly shan't do that. But there could be another reason. Couldn't there?
Yes. What?
Somebody may want to get away.
What did you mean when you said Christopher just now?
Nothing.
So a young architect has hooked it. Has he? Very interesting.
Is that true, Mrs. Ralston?
Oh, thank goodness. You haven't gone after all.
Did you take my skis, Mr. Wren?
Your ski sergeant? No, why should I?
Mrs. Ralston thinks...
Mr. Wren is very fond of skiing. So I thought he might have taken them just to get a little exercise.
Exercise?
Now listen carefully, you people. This is a serious matter. Somebody has removed my only chance of communication with the outside world. I want everybody here at once.
I think Miss Casewell has gone upstairs.
I'll get her.
I left Major Metcalf in the dining room. Major Metcalf! He's not there now.
I'll try and find him.
Hello, wanting me?
It's It's a question of my skis.
Keys?
Have either of you to remove the pair of skis from the cupboard?
Good Lord, no. Why should I?
And I didn't touch them.
Nevertheless, they are gone. Which way did you go to your room, Miss Casewell?
By the back stairs.
Then you passed the cupboard door.
If you say so. I have no idea where your skis are.
You were actually in that cupboard today.
Yes, I was.
At the time Mrs. Boyle was murdered.
At the time Mrs. Boyle was murdered, I had gone down to a cellar.
Were my skis in the cupboard when you passed through?
I haven't got the least idea.
Didn't you see them there?
I can't remember.
But you must remember if those skis were there then.
No one shouting at me, young fellow. I wasn't thinking about any damned skis. I was interested in the cellars. Architecture of this place is quite interesting. I opened the door and went on down. So I can't tell you whether the skis were there or not.
You realize that you yourself had an excellent chance of taking them.
Yes, I grant you that. If I wanted to, that is.
The question is, where are they now?
Ought to be able to find them if we all said to. Not a case of hunt the thimble. Supposing we all said to.
Not quite so fast, Major Metcalf. That maybe you know what we are meant to do.
I don't get you.
I am in the position now where I've got to put myself in the place of a crazy cunning brain. Got to ask myself what he wants us to do and what he himself is planning to do next. Got to try and keep just one step ahead of him, because if I don't, there's going to be another death.
You still don't believe that?
Yes, Miss Casewell, I do. 3 blind mice. 2 mice cancelled out. 3rd mouse still to be dealt with. There are 6 of you here listening to me now. And one of you is a killer. One of you is a killer. I don't know which yet, but I shall. And another of you is the killer's prospective victim. That's the person I'm speaking to. Mrs. Boyle held out on me. Mrs. Boyle is dead. You, whoever you are holding out on me. Well, don't, because you're in danger. Nobody who's killed twice is going to hesitate to kill a 3rd time. And as it is, I don't know which of you it is who needs protection. Come now, anybody here who has anything, however slight, to reproach themselves for in that bygone business, had better come out with it. All right, you won't. I'll get the killer. I have no doubt of that. But it may be too late for one of you. And let me tell you something. The killer's enjoying this. Yes, he's enjoying himself a good deal. All right, you can go.
Talking of chicken, dear lady, have you ever tried chicken's liver served on toast that has been thickly smeared with foie gras, with a very thin rasher of bacon, just touched with a soup of fresh mustard? I'll come with you to the kitchen and we'll see what we can concoct together. A charming occupation. I'm helping my wife, Paravachini. Your husband is afraid for you. Quite natural under the circumstances. He doesn't fancy your being alone with me. Tis my sadistic tendencies he fears, not my dishonorable ones. Alas, what an inconvenience the husband always is. Are you at the love?
I'm sure Giles doesn't think that.
He's very wise. Take no chances. But can I prove to you, or to him, or to our dogged sergeant, that I am not a homicidal maniac? So difficult to prove a negative. And suppose that instead I am really... Oh, don't! But such a gay little tune! Don't you think? She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Snick! 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 Delicious! Just what a child would adore. Cruel little things, children. Some of them never grow up. Stop frightening my wife at once!
It's silly of me. But you see, I found her. Her face was all purple. I can't forget it.
I know. It's difficult to forget things, isn't it? You aren't really the forgetting kind.
I must go to the kitchen. There's the piled potatoes. Please, guys.
What did you say to the lady to upset her, sir?
Me, Sergeant? Oh, Just a little innocent fun. I've always been fond of a little joke.
There's nice fun. And then there's fun that's not so nice.
Now I do wonder what you mean by that, Sergeant.
I've been doing a little wondering about you, sir.
Indeed.
I've been wondering about that car of yours. And how it happened to overturn in a snowdrift. So conveniently.
Inconveniently, you mean. Don't you, Sergeant?
That rather depends on the way you're looking at it. Just where were you bound for, by the way? And you had this accident.
Oh, I was on my way to see a friend.
In this neighborhood.
Not so very far from here.
And what was the name and address of this friend?
Now really, Sergeant Trotter. Does that matter now? I mean, it has nothing to do with this predicament, has it?
We always like the fullest information. What did you say this friend's name was?
I didn't say.
You didn't say. And it seems like you're not going to say. Now that's very interesting.
But there might be so many other reasons. And more. Discretion. These jealous husbands.
Rather old to be running around with the ladies at the time of life,
My
aren't you?
dear Sergeant, I'm not perhaps quite so old as I look.
That's just what I've been thinking, sir.
What?
That you're not as old as you try to look. There are a lot of people trying to look younger than they are. But if somebody goes about trying to look older, it does make one ask oneself why.
Having asked questions of so many people, you ask questions of yourself as well. Isn't that overdoing things?
I might get an answer from myself. I don't get many from you.
Well, try again. That is, if you have any more questions to ask.
One or two. Where were you coming from last night?
That is simple. From London.
What address in London?
I always stay at the Ritz Hotel.
Very nice too, I'm sure. What's your permanent address?
I dislike permanency.
Business or profession?
I play the markets.
Stockbroker?
No, you misunderstand me.
Enjoying this little game, aren't you? Sure of yourself too. Well, I shouldn't be too sure. You're mixed up in a murder case. And don't you forget it. Murder isn't just fun and games.
Not even this murder. Dear me, you are very serious, Sergeant Trotter. I always have thought policemen have no sense of humor. Is the inquisition over for the moment?
For the moment, yes.
Thank you so much. I shall go and look for his keys in the drawing room. Just in case someone has hidden them in the grand piano.
Just a minute, please.
Were you speaking to me?
Yes. Perhaps you'd come and sit down.
Well, what do you want?
You may have heard some of the questions I was asking Paravicini.
I heard them.
I'd like to have a little information from you.
What do you want to know?
Full name, please.
Leslie Margaret Catherine Casewell.
Catherine?
I spell it with a K.
Quite so. Address?
Villa Mariposa, Pandior, Mallorca.
That's in Italy.
It's an island. A Spanish island.
I see. And your address in England?
Care of Morgan's Bank, Leadenhall Street.
No other English address?
No.
How long have you been in England, Miss Casewell?
A week.
And you've been staying since your arrival at?
The Ledbury Hotel, Knightsbridge.
What brought you to Monkswell Manor, Miss Casewell?
I wanted somewhere quiet, in the country.
And what was it that you came here to do? What was that? And what was that?
Pardon. I was thinking of something else.
You haven't answered my question.
I don't really see. You know why I should? It's a matter that concerns me alone. A strictly private affair.
All the same, Miss Casewell.
No, I don't think we'll argue about that.
Would you mind telling me your age?
Not in the least. It's on my passport. I'm 24.
24?
Yes, that's true.
You went abroad when you were 13.
12, 13, thereabouts.
Was your name Casewell then?
It's my name now.
What was your name then? Come on, tell me.
What are you trying to prove?
I just want to know what your name was when you left England.
All that's a long time ago. I've forgotten.
There are things one doesn't forget.
Possibly.
Unhappiness, despair.
I dare say.
What's your real name?
I told you. Leslie Margaret Catherine Casewell.
Catherine, what the hell are you doing here?
Oh God! I wish to God I'd never come here.
I always thought the police were allowed to give people the third degree.
I've merely been interrogating Miss Casewell.
You seem to have upset her. What did you do?
No, it's nothing. All this murder, it's just horrible. It came over me suddenly. I'll go up to my room.
It's impossible. I can't believe it.
What can't you believe? 6 impossible things before breakfast. Like Red Queen.
Oh yes, it's rather like that.
You look as though you've seen a ghost.
I've seen something I ought to have seen before. Blind as a bat I've been. Now I think we may be able to get somewhere.
So finally, the police have a clue.
Yes, Mr. N. At last the police have a clue. I want everybody assembled in here again. Do you know where they are?
Giles and Molly are in the kitchen. I've been helping Major Metcalf look for his keys. We've looked in the most entertaining places. All to no avail. I don't know where Paravicini is.
I'll get him. You get the others. Mr. Paravicini! Mr. Paravicini! Paravicini!
Yes, Sergeant. What can I do for you? Little Bo policeman has lost his keys and doesn't know where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home. Dragging a murderer behind them. What is all this?
Sit down, Major. Mrs. Ralston.
Must I come now? It's very inconvenient.
There are more important things than meals, Mrs. Ralston. Mrs. Boyle, for instance, won't want another meal.
That's a very tactless way of putting things, Sergeant.
I'm sorry, sir. But I want cooperation and I intend to get it. Mrs. Ralston, will you go and ask Miss Casewell to come down again? She went up in her room. Tell her it will only be for a few minutes.
Have your keys been found, Sergeant?
No, Mrs. Ralston. But I may say, I have a very shrewd suspicion of who took them and of why they were taken. I won't say any more at the present moment.
Please don't. I always think explanation should be kept for the very end. That exciting last chapter, you know?
This isn't the game, sir.
Isn't it? But there I think you are wrong. I think it is a game. To somebody.
You think the murderer is enjoying himself? Maybe. Maybe.
What is happening?
Sit down, Miss Casewell. Mr. Ralston. You may remember that I took statements from you all after Mrs. Boyle was killed. Those statements led to your positions at the time the murder was committed. These statements were as follows. Mrs. Ralston in the kitchen, Mr. Paravicini in the drawing room, Mr. Ralston upstairs in his bedroom, Mr. Rendito, Miss Casewell in the library, and Major Metcalf in the cellar. Correct? Those were the statements you made. I had no means of checking these statements. They may be true, they may not. To put it quite clearly, 5 of those statements are true, but 1 is false. Which one? 5 of you are speaking the truth, but 1 is lying. I have a plan that may help me to discover the liar. And if I discover that 1 of you lied to me, then I'll know who the killer is.
Not necessarily. Someone may have lied for some other reasons.
I rather doubt that.
But what's the idea? You have just said you had no means of checking those statements.
No, but supposing everybody was to go through these actions a second time.
That old chestnut! Reconstruction of the crime. That's a foreign idea.
Not a reconstruction of the crime, Mr. Paravicini. A reconstruction of the movement. Apparently innocent persons.
And what do you expect to learn from that?
You'll forgive me if I keep that to myself for the moment.
You want a repeat performance?
Yes, Mr. Ralston. I do.
It's a trap.
What do you mean it's a trap?
It is a trap. I know it is.
I only want people to do exactly what they did before.
But I don't see. I simply can't see what you possibly hope to find out by making people do the things they did before. I think it's nonsense.
Do you, Mr. N?
Well, you can count me out.
I can't count anybody out. One might almost believe that you are all guilty by the looks of you. Why are you also unwilling?
Of course, what you say goes, Sergeant. We'll all cooperate. Hey, Molly.
Very well.
Ren. Miss Casewell.
Yes.
Major Metcalf. Yes. Paravicini. Oh yes, I consent. Are we all to do exactly what we did before?
The same actions will be performed. Yes.
Then I'll return to the piano in the drawing room. And once again, with one finger, pick out the signature tune of a murderer.
Not quite so fast, Mr. Parravicini. Do you play the piano, Mrs. Ralston?
Yes, I do.
And you know the tune of Three Blind Mice?
Don't we all know it?
Then you could pick it out with one finger, just as Parravicini did. All right. Will you go into the drawing room, sit at the piano, and be ready to play when I give you the signal?
But Sergeant, I understood that we were each to repeat our former roles.
The same actions will be performed, yes, but not necessarily by the same people. Thank you, Mr. Ralston.
I don't see the point.
There is a point. It is the means of checking upon these statements. Or maybe one statement in particular. Now will you all pay attention, please? I shall assign you your new stations. Mr. Wren, would you mind going down to the kitchen? Just keep an eye on Mrs. Ralston's dinner for her. You're very fond of cooking, I believe. Major Metcalf, would you mind going up to Mr. Ralston's bedroom and try the telephone there? Mr. Wren, will you go up to Mr. Wren's bedroom? By the back stairs is the most convenient way. Miss Casewell, would you mind going down to the cellar? Mr. Parravicini will show you the way. Unfortunately, I need someone to reproduce my own actions. Sorry to ask out of you, Mr. Ralston, but would you mind going out of that door and following the telephone wire? It's rather a chilly job, I'm afraid, but you're probably the toughest person here.
And what are you going to do?
I'm enacting the part of Mrs. Boyle.
Taking a bit of a rest, aren't you?
Now will you all take your places and remain there until you hear me call you?
Parlor games. No objection to my taking a coat.
I should advise it, sir. Take my torch, sir. It's behind that curtain. Mrs. Ralston, count to 20 and begin to play. Mrs. Ralston! Mrs. Ralston!
Yes? What is it? You are looking very pleased with yourself. Have you got what you wanted?
Yes, Mrs. Ralston. I've got exactly what I wanted.
You know who the murderer is then?
Yes, I do.
Which of them?
You ought to know, Mrs. Ralston.
Me?
You've been extraordinarily foolish, you know. You've run a very great chance of being killed by holding out on me. As a result, you've been in serious danger more than once.
I don't know what you mean.
Come now, Mrs. Ralston. We policemen aren't quite so dumb as you think. All along I've realized that you had first-hand knowledge of the Longridge Farm affair. You knew Mrs. Boyle was the magistrate concerned. Why didn't you come up and say so?
I don't understand. I wanted to forget. Forget!
Your maiden name was Waring.
Yes.
Miss Waring, you taught school. In the school where those children went.
Yes.
It's true, isn't it? That Jimmy, the child who died, managed to get a letter posted to you. The letter begged for help. Help from his kind young teacher. You never answered that letter.
I couldn't. I never got it.
You just didn't bother.
That's not true. I was ill. I went down with pneumonia that very day. The letter was put aside with others. It was weeks afterwards that I found it. With a lot of other letters. But by then that poor child was dead. Dead. Waiting for me to do something. Hoping. Gradually losing hope. Oh, it's haunted me ever since. If only I hadn't been him. If only I'd known. Oh, it's monstrous.
Yes, it's monstrous.
I thought the police didn't carry revolvers.
The police don't. I'm not a policeman, Mr. Ralston. You thought I was a policeman because I rang up from a call box and said I was speaking from police headquarters and that Sergeant Trotter was on his way. I cut the telephone wire before I came to the front door. You know who I am, Mr. Ralston? I'm Georgie. I'm Jimmy's brother, Georgie.
Georgie! Georgie? You know me. Don't you? Don't you remember the farm, Georgie? The animals? That fat old pig? Huh? And the way the bull chases across the field?
It's you, Catherine. What are you doing here?
I came to here to find you. I located Miss Waring. And when I heard of the murder of Mrs. Stanning, I just thought it was you. And then you twirled your head.
She betrayed us and let poor Jimmy die. I set a trap for her and she ran right into it. Just like the timid little mouse she is. You better not scream, Miss Lawson. Because if you do, I shall fire this revolver.
Don't do it! Please, don't!
Jimmy died. That nasty cruel woman killed him. They put her in prison. Prison wasn't bad enough for her. I said I'd kill her one day. I did too. In the fog. I hope Jimmy knows. I'll kill them all when I'm grown up. That's what I said to myself. Because grown-ups can do anything they like.
If you kill her, you'll never get safely away. You know, you'd better not.
Someone's stolen my skis. I can't find them. But it doesn't matter. I don't really care if I get away or not. I'm tired. It's all been great fun. Watching you all and pretending to be a